Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in again today. Well, we are continuing our study in the book of Titus chapter 2. And today we are going to look at what it means to be teachers and to be teachable. So today I'm here with my friend and partner in ministry, Megan Fritsch. And she is married and has 3 beautiful little girls and 1 very soon on the way. When is your due date coming up?
September 16th.
Oh my goodness, it's so soon. I can't wait to see her. We're so excited. So as we are continuing in Titus chapter 2, first, let's go ahead and take a look at the culture of Crete at the time that Paul wrote this letter to Titus. Now, he describes the Cretans in chapter 1, verse 12, as liars, evil beasts, and lazy gluttons. Like, he doesn't pull any punches right here.
Oh, no.
They were a culture that was so selfish, so self-indulgent, completely pagan. And so the Christians living in Crete were constantly bombarded with false teachings, with evil and selfishness. And it was starting to eat into their Christian lifestyles. Well, God calls for us to live a faith that's authentic, to live our lives full of integrity, to live a life that speaks louder than our words. And so others then will want to follow that example. And so Paul recognizes that the best way that we can do that is to have people give us an example, to stand up and to help teach us. And he shows that through mentoring relationships with women that are older and more mature spiritually that can help the younger generation. So let's take a look right now in Titus chapter 2, and we're going to be looking at verses 3 through 5. Titus calls for these older women to be reverent and modest in their behavior, 1. The second, not to be gossips, but to be women who use their words to uplift and encourage one another, and not slaves to excessive drinking, as was the culture in Crete, and to teach these young women to live godly lives by their word and by their example. Now, Megan, I know that mentoring is very dear to your heart. And so why do you think Paul instructs Titus to find older women of such high spiritually mature character to mentor younger women? What in your experience has shown the importance of having the older generation mentor the younger generation?
Well, Michelle, just like how we are called to be good disciples and make disciples, we are called to help the generation that comes after us. And so even us, even me at this age, we need help from the previous generation. And whether it is because they're more spiritually wise and gifted and older, but that we also need help just learning how to be moms and wives. Yes. And how to grow in that area. We could always use help from somebody who knows a little bit more about how to be a good mom and wife.
Yeah, that's been there, that's walked along that road. Absolutely. So let's look right now at what older women are called to teach younger women to be Christ followers. Okay, so the first is to love their husbands and to love their children. Now, this is actually 2 different assignments, okay? So Megan, why do you think it's important for mentor moms, these older women, to let the younger wives and mothers know that they are to truly love their husbands and to love their kids?
Well, I think besides the obvious where you don't want to be married to someone you don't love,
yes,
I think that it is because we are to model that relationship that Jesus shows us, his relationship with the church, the whole church. And so as we are the bride of Christ as the church, we are the bride of our husbands, and we are to love them the best way that we can and see Jesus in them.
Very good. And then when we think about our children, because he specifically also says, and to love your children. And, there are seasons where it can be difficult, especially when you've got little toddlers or teenagers, perhaps. But so what does it mean to love your children to you?
Well, to love our children, obviously we love our children.
Yes.
But to love them is to show them the love of Jesus and to show them that they can be Christ followers, to know the gospel and to pass that on to them so that they can then go on and pass it to the next generation.
Perfect. Yes. All right. Well, let's take a look at the second one. To be workers at home, to efficiently manage your household. So Megan, let's unpack this a little bit. What does it mean to manage the household, and why is this important to God?
Well, biblical context coming into play, managing the household was very strictly like cooking and cleaning and being there to take care of the children and stuff. And as we've grown in society, it's included other tasks that God has blessed women with talents for. And so managing a household can mean so many different things. It can be managing a budget. It can be managing to work and be at home. It can be getting kids to school and managing their schedules. But ultimately, it is managing an entire household can be knowing when our limits are. And so for me right now, I'm in a place where it's pretty hard for me to bend down and clean certain things.
I can't imagine why. Right?
So it's hard. And so what I've had to really recognize lately is managing the household is asking for help.
Yes.
Asking for it from my friends, my family, my husband, and my children especially. So teaching them how to manage a household. My daughter the other day recognized I needed help making dinner, and I was just so tired, and so she said, "Mom, sit down and I will make dinner." And so I told her what to do, and she made a great spaghetti casserole for us.
Perfect. And you are teaching your children how to help and how to be there. And that is just a beautiful example. So let's look at the third one. To be self-controlled and pure and kind. So where can it be difficult to show self-restraint and control? How can we stay pure and kind in difficult situations?
Well, God isn't saying, Paul isn't saying that we should just be quiet and, not say anything and, just be so pure in the sense that we automatically think of like sexual purity and things like that. What he's saying is be pure in all that you are, all that you do, have self-control and all those things. So it's recognizing not to be out partying, not to be on social media flying off the handle, which is so easy these days. That's automatically what I think of. It's just how easy it is to be offended and to let impure thoughts come in. You can come across something and think it's really funny and then want to pass that on to somebody. And you have to also recognize that as a Christ follower, you're wanting to model that pure behavior, and you don't want to go share something that might make somebody think, oh, like that's okay for a Christ follower to think and do. Right. And so that must mean that's okay to do in life. And so really, that's what I think of automatically. The easiest example is social media. It's just easy to lose self-control. It's easy to lose that purity and that sense of like, what is the right thing to do?
Absolutely. And sometimes we just have to pause for a moment and to think before we automatically respond and react. And that way we can just be an example of Christ in all that we say and do, whether it's social media or whether it's in conversations. Absolutely. So let's look at the final. And it's, we live in an age where the term submission is looked at as kind of a bad word. Like some women will just cringe when they hear the word submission, but it's not the way God intended that. So Megan, what is godly submission, and how do we reflect Christ's love when demonstrating loving submission in our marriages?
Well, and I definitely agree, it's a scary word, and I have to say it's become one of my favorite words, because as a wife, that can be hard sometimes to remind yourself to submit. But really what Paul is talking about is again, modeling that relationship that Christ has with us as a church. So as the bride of Christ, we're called to submit to Jesus. And so as the bride of our husbands, we're called to submit. And that doesn't mean to be quiet and sit there and do whatever they say. That means to understand the partnership role, understanding the spiritual authority in the household, that your husband is ultimately in that role. And so it comes down to recognizing that I'm not going to go on social media and spout off angry things about him. Right. I am not going to demean him in public. I'm not going to have a huge fight with him in public. I'm going to take him aside and I'm going to have a conversation because I respect him in that place. And you guys, I know it can be hard to think of that word submission and really know how to submit, but ultimately it comes down to recognizing that this is a partner God had for you, and you love him just like you love Jesus.
And it's really an honoring thing that we can do for our spouses. It's a way to honor them and love them just as Christ loves us. Well, Megan, thank you so much for being here with us today and helping us unpack what it means to help to teach others to live a life that reflects Christ's love. So thank you for being with us today, and make sure that you tune in tomorrow as we continue our study of Titus and we learn what it means to be examples and to be encouragers. Thanks. Have a great day.